Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys.
And I'm Blake Silverman, writer for Detroit Bad Boys, covering everything Pistons, and news writer for Sports Illustrated.
That is right, guys. We have the whole crew back together in what feels like forever. Obviously, we both had some minor life events going on that have prevented both Blake and I from hopping on the show with one another. But our guy Blake, he is back. It seems like everything's going well on the home front. So my official now on the show, congratulations to you guys, because we've been saying that the past two episodes without you. But super happy for you both, and I know you were saying the same for me before. So yeah, welcome back, man. What do you think? I got to ask you too. The new music, right? You haven't had an official chance to comment on our new intro and outro music that is thankfully free of any copyright considerations on YouTube. So that is why we did that. Just thoughts on life, on the music. What do you got for us, Blake? Welcome back.
Yeah, well, I mean, first I have to give you a congratulations as well on air. I know we've talked, but first time we've recorded since both of us had the life events. Mine came a lot sooner than expected, which is good. Everything is all good, and I'm happy to be back. It's been fun, keeping up with the NBA, the Pistons throughout this time. When you're up at weird hours and have interrupted sleep and stuff, it's actually a pretty good time to watch some basketball and keep up with everything. But yeah, I think the new music's great. It's unique, I think. I mean, it's definitely classical. When me and you were talking about it, you were dropping some knowledge on me about classical tunes, which I'm not very knowledgeable in that category, but
Chopin, if I remember correctly, is what that's from.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. I mean, I think both of our other music were good too, but we're here to talk about a team who has an opportunity to clinch the East. So I'm excited for it and happy to be back.
Yeah, and I feel like the music is appropriately dramatic for the chase for that number one seed. You know what? I mean, we can just kind of talk there. You've been, you've obviously been watching the Pistons, and you haven't had a chance to really comment on what we've seen out of this stretch here without Cade Cunningham, with Jalen Duren really taking more of that primary initiator role. So, what have you seen out of JD, out of the team kind of rallying around him in that position? What's really stood out to you out of the stretch?
Yeah, I think obviously there have been the loss to the Thunder that I'm sure we'll get into a bit. That one just felt to me, it was an awesome way for them to be in that game, and it just felt like if the Pistons didn't win that one in regulation, they weren't going to win that game. So I was hoping Dennis got that shot at the end, but I think overall, just in general, this team has fought like they've done all year, getting a win over the Timberwolves, who, they didn't have Anthony Edwards. It's just a crazy time in the NBA right now with everyone being out. And I know we'll talk about that some more, but it just seems like this whole year there's been someone or someones that have stepped up when there are absences. Like right now it's Jalen Duren and Dennis Jenkins without Cade. It's been Paul Reed. It's been Javonte Green without Stu. You name it, you can go up and down the list. We've saw good play from Kevin Huerter, really his best games since he came to Detroit in this recent stretch. So I think it says a lot about this team that they still find a way to win games when they don't have their NBA MVP candidate, first team All NBA guy on the floor. And that's what teams have to do in this time of year. We just got news yesterday that Luka Doncic is going to be out indefinitely, and the Lakers need to find a way to do the same thing that the Pistons are doing right now. So I think that is a cause for optimism. I mean, obviously we'll need to see what happens with Cade. There's no reason to think he won't be back for the playoffs. But it'll be interesting to see. And overall, I think you can only really just be happy with this team's performance right now, especially when you're down your superstar.
Yeah, good teams have depth that steps up, right? And I think that extends, like you've been mentioning, it's beyond just Jalen Duren, who's really taken that leap now into being the primary guy, and he's thriving in that kind of role, which is awesome to see. But I think it's also like Asar Thompson now is picking up, it seems to me, a little bit more of a leadership role, which is great because you're missing two pillars of this locker room right now in Cade Cunningham and Isaiah Stewart. So yeah, they need someone to be super vocal. It's not usually Asar Thompson, but right now it is, and that's really awesome to see him kind of taking a step into that position. You're looking at Danis Jenkins is now not only just kind of running the show, but taking on a little bit more of a scoring load, and he's really seeming to thrive with that aggressiveness that he needs to have for that. It's just, I mean, Richard said here in the chat, the fact that 60 wins is even still on the table with this group being as young as they are, the injuries that they've been dealing with here over this final stretch. I think it just goes to show the talent that actually is on this team and the cohesion that they have with one another. Because those are the two things you need to really excel in the NBA. So sure, maybe they aren't as talented as an Oklahoma City Thunder, but hey, I mean, they were able to hang with those guys, even with Stewart and Cade being out, because they are still such a cohesive unit and they do have talent, right? They're not just getting outclassed on a night to night basis anymore. So it's just, I continue to be incredibly impressed, just kind of like you are. Like it's just kind of fun to watch. I'm not even analyzing as much. I'm just trying to enjoy the show at this point.
Right. And it seems like no matter who it is, like we saw in the game against Minnesota, Tobias Harris goes out early, and you know how big he's been for this team. He only plays 6 minutes in that game, but you still find a way to win. You get 2 threes from Javonte Green off the bench. Danis leads the team with 26 points. And again, like I said, Minnesota was without Anthony Edwards, but they still had Julius Randle. Ao has been really good without Ant, and Mike Conley makes 4 threes for them. So there was still that was still like a tough game, and just the fact that they were able to win it without Cade, pretty much without Tobias Harris, and without Stu as well. Like you can only be optimistic about this team. Yes, I'm sure Cade, Stu will need maybe some time, but I don't even really know. They could just come back like nothing happened, be ready to go. Like it's that time of year. So I think just this recent stretch, I wouldn't have expected them to have the record that they've had. And yeah, like Richard said, 60 wins still being on the table when you have to find a way to continue to steer the ship, especially without Cade Cunningham.
Real quick, wanted to give a quick shout out to Ron Holland for that Timberwolves game. I mean, I know it wasn't his minutes that really upticked after Tobias Harris went down. He still only played 16 minutes that night, but I thought he was aggressive in a way that he is not usually. Maybe that, part of that is him getting hacked in the face by Julius Randle and then not getting the call, right? So you see him kind of come out and he's got the fire burning in him, and that's why he's playing that way. But even so, I thought that he stepped up offensively. And he wasn't taking more shots, but he was driving to the rim and creating some plays for others in doing so. And that was, that's great to see out of him. He's been in a slump here a little bit again. And so seeing him being able to pick it up a little bit, get more aggressive, make some things happen offensively, even if it's not going to blow you away, right? Just 8 points on 4 for 7 shooting, 2 misses from 3 and a steal, right? He wasn't otherworldly. But I think that's a step in the right direction for a guy that's been having a tough month.
Yeah, for sure. And when you're missing the guy who drives your offense, the offense has to come from somewhere else. And yeah, you can give a lot of credit to Jalen Duren and Danis Jenkins for that. But it's just like we've been saying, all the other pieces around the edges, like Ron Holland, that are stepping up and contributing in one way or another. And yeah, I think what you were saying, just like trying to get good looks near the rim right now, at least, is where Ron Holland can really thrive. And yeah, it's not going to blow you away, like you said, but 8 points is 8 points in a 5-point game that you end up winning. On top of everything else, like Danis is 26 points, Jalen Duren's 22 and 14 rebounds, and even Duncan Robinson's 15 will stand out. But it is really those guys on the bench too who are able to give you productive minutes in some way, because there are a ton of minutes, a ton of shots that you have to make up for in a time like this. And I think overall as a unit, they're doing a really good job. So it's mainly credit to the players, credit to JB Bickerstaff, credit to the identity, really everything, because it seems like they just haven't missed a beat in this time.
And one more thing that I want to take from this Timberwolves game here, that I mean, I just don't want to. I want to make sure we don't miss it because with Jalen Duren really taking this step into that primary offensive role, what stood out to me is who he's doing it against. Like the very first game that he really took that mantle, it was against Alex Sarr, and I know he was on a minute restriction, but that's a really good defender in Alex Sarr. And then he goes up against Draymond Green and Kristaps Porzingis. Well, look what he did here against the Timberwolves, being guarded for 36 minutes by Rudy Gobert, a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Jalen Duren on a shot diet that's still right around the rim to a guy that he's losing the size mismatch, like the size matchup on. Gobert is taller and he's longer, and Gobert's a great interior defender. So this should play into Gobert's strength, but it didn't. Jalen Duren in 36 minutes, 22 points. He still shot better than 50% from the floor. It was 8 of 15. He goes 6 of 10 from the free throw line, 14 rebounds and 4 assists. Like, yeah, 5 turnovers. That's not great. So we don't want to, that's not a highlight, but I still thought he had a fantastic game given who he was being guarded by. And that's huge if you can count on him to put up those types of numbers against that caliber of defender.
Yeah, and especially I feel like there was a point in the game where, I mean, really at the start where he just dominated and it felt like there was nothing you could do to stop him. And like you said, going up against one of the great defenders in the league like Rudy Gobert, it really says something about this step that he's taken. And I feel like he's been getting to the line a little bit more. I'll have to look into those numbers. And I mean, not his best night from the line. He was 6 for 10, but he still got to the line. It took 10 free throws. So I don't know if that's I think that's a mixture of getting a better whistle and just like being more aggressive in general. Like we've talked about for a long time now, he needs to do even when Cade Cunningham is available. And especially when he's not, I think he's doing a good job of that, because he really is a force in this league right now. We don't need to say he can be. I think he's already there. And it's just about showing it. And it seems like he can, and he has been, no matter who's on the other side of the floor.
Yeah, and look, if a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, if a All-NBA first team defense caliber player, if the impact that guy has on one of your star players is to bring down their percentage from the floor from about 65 to like 55, yeah, that's pretty good if you really think about it. Yeah, was Jalen Duren as efficient as normal? No. Did he still shoot better than 50% from the floor? Yes. On pretty high volume, 15 shot. Like you take that 10 times out of 10. So why don't we do this one really quick? This is from Pistons Fan 11. Do the Pistons put up a Central Division banner next year on opening night? I hope so. I mean, I haven't looked at the banners in LCA in quite some time. Do they do division winner banners?
I was gonna ask the same question. If they do, then yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we don't know what this year is going to turn into. I'm sure they want to put up a different banner. But if that precedent is there, then they have to. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know if they'd make a big deal out of it, do a big ceremony or anything with it. I think it might be just championship banners in addition to like the retired numbers. I'm just looking at pictures of Little Caesars Arena online right now.
I wonder if they do the whole like Central Division winners. It's like the years, right? Like the so
Like
it's not
each
its own
one.
banner, but yeah, I think, if they don't, I feel like they should.
Yeah, I mean,
That'd be good.
Pistons fan
Oh, there
11
you go.
says last time we won they did, but that was 20 years ago, and obviously that's at the Palace, and the Red Wings have a ton of banners at LCA.
Yeah.
I want to say that the Red Wings do have like division banners, but I know divisions matter more in NHL than they do in NBA. So, hey, if they did last time, they should do it again. I don't know if that is all this team does, then they're going to make a big deal out of it, but they definitely should like just carve some space for it. Why not?
I agree. I mean, I know it's not the same, but it is important. I think that any reasonable accomplishment that you make as a team, I say throw the banner up there, just celebrate it. It's fun. It's good stuff. And like
NBA
Richard
Cup,
says, it is
the
a
Knicks need to
significant.
do it.
They do put the dang
Yeah.
banner up for the NBA Cup. Come
Yeah.
on, it's a tough tournament to win. It still matters. I know it's not the big one, so just make the banner smaller. Dang
Yeah.
it! Stop
I
watering
agree.
down the achievements. Have fun.
I agree. I mean, it's just like a fun thing that the team would enjoy, the fans would enjoy. So I don't see
Yeah.
why not. And I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think it costs the ownership group a ton of money. So why not?
I can't
And
imagine.
maybe it would get some more people in the seats. I mean, I don't know if that would for a Central Division championship banner, but maybe like a little NBA Cup celebration. Why not?
Yeah, come on. All right. Well, so we had a quick report. This was a little throwaway from Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, but we did get a rumored amount for that theoretical Jalen Duren extension that he could sign. Well, it shouldn't even be an extension at this point, just be a new contract. So that new contract he could sign. So the number was $210 million in total value, and it could be upwards of that as well. So we could go up from there. Basically, where that works out to about $42 million average annual value or more. If he makes that all NBA team, it could creep up a little bit higher as well. I think it could get up close to, but not over 50 in average annual value. Don't quote me on that. I don't know that for sure. Even if it does, our starting point 42. So what do you think about that number? And does that seem fair?
So, I mean, I think our guy Kyle Metz would be proud of me. Like, I would look at it more as the percentage of the cap, like you should, because every NBA contract seems big. I mean, the cap goes up. I know it's not supposed to go up next year, but that actually helps us a little bit because we can use current values into what that would be. So, I mean, Cade's max deal right now, which is like 46, a little bit more than 46, is 30% of the cap, which is just how you get that number. Just to throw another number out there, Ja Morant is 39, like 39.5 million. So a little close to that 42 number. And that's 25.5% of the cap hit. I think, I don't know, like obviously you would want the deal to be a little bit less just so you have more flexibility. But I think Jalen Duren has proved that he is worth that and can really, like, he was an all-star this year. You have to pay him. I know he was extension eligible last year. He didn't get it. And he's in for a big payday. So my initial take, and obviously nothing's for certain yet, although we think Jalen Duren is going to get paid, like, I just think it is what it is, and you do what you can to keep him in Detroit long term. And especially Cade's extension just kicked in this year. Like, you're pretty much aligning Jalen Duren with Cade Cunningham, which I think is what you want to do. I don't think you'd want to have Jalen Duren make up that much of your cap sheet if Cade isn't in the fold. I mean, hopefully he's going to be a Piston for life, but I think that is the benefit. And like Tobias Harris, we'll see what happens with him if the Pistons bring him back on a much cheaper deal. But his 26.5 mil is 17% of the cap. So that's coming off. So you do have the room to do it. It definitely hurts your flexibility elsewhere, but I think Trajan Langdon's done a good job at building this roster. So I think you just got to ink one of your key pieces, whatever it is. And I think the number might shock some people, but I don't think it would be a drastic overpay. Like maybe a little bit, but it's not crazy at all to me.
Yeah, I mean I'm in the same spot of they pay him what they're going to need to pay him to keep him around. It's probably not going to be a full on like Supermax extension. It'll be somewhere less than that, but somewhere in the 40s seems just about right for the production that you're getting at the age that he is. And look, my thing, the only thing I really want to add to what you brought up is, I've seen some of the national perspective being, oh well, hey, the Pistons lost the gamble. Right. They would have been able to sign Jalen Duren to an extension last summer, but they didn't. And then now Duren's come out and proven that he's worth more than what those negotiations were. And I'm sympathetic. I get it. I get why that is the framing that some are using. But at the same time, I do think that forgets, or at least ignores, the fact that Jalen Duren wasn't going to sign an extension at that quote unquote deal amount that the Pistons wanted him at. The Pistons attempted to sign him at a number that presumably was less than $40 million. It might have been closer to $30 million. And the reality is Duren was not going to sign that no matter what. So like, there's no gamble here. The gamble is actually on the part of the player, not on the part of the organization. Like what could the Pistons have done? Well, they could have given him the contract that apparently he's about to earn, because the reports were last summer that JD wanted upwards of 40 mil. Like he wanted that rookie max, or at least close to it. And it seems like that's what he's going to get now. Like the Pistons didn't lose, Jalen Duren won. And now we're both all better off for it, right? Like the Pistons are able to get a guy who's an all-star big, who fits really well with Cade offensively, who's made strides even defensively as well, seems to still be improving. And hey, maybe he's even going to be eligible for like all NBA third team. Like that's a guy you want to keep around and build around as a long-term star. So I disagree with the idea that the Pistons lost a gamble here. The gamble would have been signing him for a long-term contract at upwards of $30 million when you don't really know that this is the guy you're going to sign. The risk was Jalen Duren turning down the money. So like there wasn't a reality where they were going to get him cheaper, is I guess what I'm saying. So now we just know, we know where he's at. We know what he can be. So he's going to get that contract that he thought he deserved. And now we know that he does.
Yeah. And just to add some context, I did some quick research. There's literally one guy in the NBA who makes $42 million this year, and that's Domantas Sabonis. And that's just under 27.5% of the cap. So like, just for context purposes, you'll have Cade at 30, Duren right around 27.5, depending on how the cap shakes out. That is what the Kings have with Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis right now. So I think you're more than happy to do it. I mean, it's not the greatest comparison because the Kings like just aren't managed well right now, or they haven't been for a while. But just to put in perspective what it might look like, and then what the Pistons might be able to do from there. Because like, the Kings still went out and signed, they inked Keegan Murray to that extension that hasn't kicked in yet. So we don't know what's going to happen with Ron Holland. We don't know if Asar Thompson is going to get an extension this summer. And they made some free agent signings like Malik Monk. They signed Russ on a really cheap deal this year. So the Pistons are going to be in that stratosphere in a totally different context. But I think you can, like, the biggest question to me is, can you keep a similar roster to what you currently have if Jalen Duren gets that money? Or will it hamper you to a degree where you can't compete? I don't think this front office will let themselves go into the ladder. So I think if Jalen Duren gets that money, like, Trajan Langdon is confident in the roster he can create around the money that Cade and Duren have.
And this is the NBA right now. Like, look around the league, the really successful teams, for the most part, it's two big money guys and then a lot of really good depth around them. And I get that, why maybe Pistons fans would be nervous. Hey, Asar Thompson's really core to this team. Absolutely, he is. But Asar Thompson's not going to get paid a max extension. At least I would really, really be surprised if he did. The NBA usually doesn't pay that high of a market rate for guys that are fantastic and incredible defenders. They have to provide something more offensively as well. And I'm not saying that Asar can't do that eventually. I'd just be shocked. So what I think you're looking at these two big money guys and Cade and Jalen Duren, and then it's a mixture of middle of the road big contracts and a lot of depth contracts, mid-level exception, your vet minimums guys in like the room exception like Dennis Jenkins right now. Like those are the types of value contracts along with draft picks that you use to build out the rest of the roster. And like, bringing up Isaiah Stewart. Yeah. Could Isaiah Stewart get extended somewhere around 20 mil? Yes. Could Asar Thompson get somewhere like 28 to 30? Yes. And all of that's going to be fine. They're just, they'll end up paying some luxury tax, which Tom Gores has done before with worse teams. So I can't imagine that's going to be a restriction. Like it's lining up well for this team to keep all of the guys that they would theoretically view as core tenets of this roster and of this locker room. The question is just going to be, how does Langdon, augment those 5-ish players? And we've got plenty of evidence to suggest he's more than capable of doing so. Sure, he's had a little bit more budget to play around with, but still he's finding a lot of great value guys. Javonte Green, Dennis Jenkins, even Kevin Huerter was kind of a throwaway. I don't want to say he was a throwaway, but at the time, the real value of that trade for Ivy was, hey, you're getting slightly better of a first round pick. Like the market for Ivy wasn't huge. So the fact that you get Kevin Huerter, right? Like, hey, that's a great little shrewd move there from Trajan Langdon. I think we can be pretty confident. Paul Reed, yeah, OG unnamed YouTube user bringing up Paul Reed, another fantastic value contract. Like he's been doing this, so I think you could be pretty confident.
Yeah, and I think Javonte Green is the best example of like, if you are in a situation where your cap room is limited, but you still have some rotation holes you need to fill or just need depth pieces, like they signed him right before the season for a minimum deal. So I think in 2 short years, Langdon has already proven his ability to make those acquisitions that are going to help this team. Like Javonte Green has been huge this year. And yeah, like Paul Reed, Dennis Jenkins, Huerter, all those guys too. The only reason I'm targeting Green is just because he makes the least money of that entire group. So I think they're in a good spot, even though you have to pay Jalen Duren. People have been bringing up in the chat, Isaiah Stewart's due for a pay raise himself. I mean, I don't think it would be crazy. It'll definitely be a raise, he's
not going to get starter money.
Right.
He's at basically the mid-level right now. He'll probably get somewhere around a 5M raise. Like
that's what I was thinking. It's not going
to be huge. It'll be good though. It'll be good for him.
Yeah, and like he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who will want to take 10 million more to go and start for, I don't know, the Mavericks or something like that. So I don't think the Pistons are going to get away with Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart and maybe even Tobias Harris giving them a total break to ink all them long-term when you're thinking of Stewart and Duren, or with Harris, just bring them back on a short-term deal that's fairly affordable. But I think like these guys all want to stay with this group, especially with the year that they've had. So I know the NBA is crazy. Things change in a second all the time. But I hope I'm not proven wrong, but these guys just strike me as ones that will want to do what they can to play next to Cade Cunningham and to stay with this organization long-term.
All right, let's get into some playoff talk here. That's enough off-season talk here. We got plenty of good Pistons basketball to dive into. Let's get into this one from Michael Dompier 44. Said, not sure if it's actually a question here, but he has heard national people say Cleveland is going to tank to get into the 4-5 matchup so that they can get Detroit in the second round. First of all, I mean, what do you think about Cleveland maybe taking that approach? And then second, how would the Pistons match up with Cleveland? I mean, to me, all this kind of conversation when you get to like, oh, should you try to lose some games to generate a certain matchup in the playoffs or not? I mean, it all honestly feels very presumptuous to me. So I'm curious your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought is if Cleveland is really doing that, like I would be more scared of a first round matchup with Atlanta, who's been one of the best teams in the NBA as of recent. And I mean, Atlanta isn't necessarily locked into the 5 seed. The Sixers could still get there, and they're playing well especially since Paul George has come back. Toronto could get back there. They're not playing as good as Philly, and the Hornets are still in that conversation as well. They're a little further behind with not much time to make it up, but I would be scared of playing Atlanta in the first round. I mean, I think that would be a really good series between Cleveland and Atlanta. And I mean, sure, if the Cavs want to play the Pistons in the second round and that's what they're set on, I mean, the Pistons are the best team in the East by 4 games with not many games left. And why would they not want to potentially play the Knicks or something, or just get as high as they can? I don't know. I just think, especially when you're jockeying for playoff seeding at this point, or in the Pistons case, trying to clinch the number 1 seed, I feel like you try to win as many games as you can. And obviously don't know what's being said behind the scenes. But yeah, in general, I mean, the Cavs with James Harden and Donovan Mitchell and their core, I mean, yeah, they're a scary team to play in the playoffs, but you're going to have to beat good teams. So I think they match up well with the Pistons, but I think the Pistons also match up well with them, and how they can hopefully limit what Harden and Mitchell especially can do. And their front court is great as well, but Jalen Duren, like we were talking about a lot at the top of the show, is a force that they're going to have to deal with. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'd love to know if there was any like serious credence behind that, which we'll never know. But to me, it seems like I'd rather try to get up into the 3 seed and avoid the Hawks in the first round, as opposed to like worrying about a potential second round matchup.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, all this to me, it just feels so. I mean, I said it was presumptuous. I'm going to stick with that. It feels presumptuous. Like that. This assumes, like you just mentioned, Cleveland's going to get to the second round. That is not. The East is too good for this kind of conversation this year. I mean, even all the way down to the 10th seed. The 10th seed right now is 40-37. That's the Miami Heat. And they are a good basketball team with a guy that just scored the second most points ever in an NBA game in Bam Adebayo. Like, I know that that's not exactly repeatable, right? But like, they're a dangerous team, and they're just sitting there in that last play-in spot, and they're pretty much locked into at least the play-in at this point, with the Bucks being 11th and at 30 wins. So, I mean, like, look, the East is going to be a bit of a bloodbath, and I'm not sure. I think if you look at like all the teams in the Eastern Conference right now, if you're the Cavs, you've got your choice of, well, and if I do this, right, if I really commit to this 4th seed, my round 1 matchup is going to be the best offense in the NBA after the All-Star break. And then my second round matchup would be the best or the second best defense in the NBA against the Detroit Pistons. Like, do you want to get into a track meet in round 1 and then get into a bloodbath in round 2? That's tough. The East is just going to be really difficult. I don't think it's a guarantee the Pistons make it out of the first round. Those first round matchups are going to be difficult. I don't think it's a guarantee that if the Cleveland makes it to the Pistons in the second round, if that's the matchup, that Cleveland's actually even going to excel in the kind of roll in the mud fight that would be taking place there in those games. The playoffs are tough. The playoffs are going to be really, really tough. So I'm with you. I think you get the best seed you possibly can and try to maximize on that home court advantage no matter what. So I know that 4-5, 4 is going to have the home court advantage, but if I could get up to 3, I'm technically getting a better matchup there with a slightly worse team than the 5th seed. So if I go into the 6, I think this is dicey if you really, really genuinely try to do some of the manufacturing of matchups like that.
Yeah, and I mean, Michael brings up like that the discussion was around Cade's health, which I think is a fair point, and it makes the discussion a little more interesting. But I mean, just personally, I think you can't really assume anything and just go off the information that you have and all the information that we have, and that's anywhere else besides potentially directly inside the Pistons locker room, is that Cade is going to be ready to go. So I would be more worried about who I'm going to play in the first round. But yeah, I guess it does make it interesting if debatably the best guard in the conference, and I would say is the best guard in the conference and maybe the best player in the playoffs. And I would say he is, because you're not going to have Giannis there. I wouldn't necessarily be chomping at the bit to play that team earlier than I could.
Yeah, I completely. The Pistons are the subject of much disrespect. It's some good bulletin board material in that locker room, honestly. I think at this point you got a team that's got a shot, or like a kind of an outside shot, but a realistic somewhat shot at 60 wins. But regardless, they're up over 55 wins already, sitting at 56-21. They've got 5 games left to go. So if they go 4 out of those 5, they'll be up at the 60. But even setting all that aside, like without Cade Cunningham, they are still 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're still one of, if not the best defense in the league. They've got possibly the best guard in the Eastern Conference, a legit MVP candidate when he's healthy, in Cade Cunningham. You've got an all-star center who meshes really well with that MVP candidate, who, hey, maybe he's all NBA third team himself. And then you also have the best perimeter defender in basketball. They've got enough talent at this point, and they've got enough proof of concept where I don't get this idea that that this is a favorable matchup for anybody. You should be afraid of Detroit in the playoffs. They're too good of a team to not be. Whether or not they actually win and make a huge run in the playoffs, regardless, you've seen enough this regular season to say, I'd like to avoid that team because they're really good. And they are. So do it. Try it. Win as much as you can if you're the Knicks. And Richard said, yeah, they're 7-3 in their last 10. They are, right. The Hawks are 8-2. So look out, Cleveland. Don't fall to the 5th seed. They're coming for
everyone in the East is like playing well right now, with the exception of Toronto, Orlando, Miami. And before Miami started to slump a bit, like they looked really good. So I think, I think the East is super competitive. I mean, the West is too, but you obviously have the top 2 teams there that are almost in a tier of their own. So yeah, I just wouldn't assume that you're going to beat anyone necessarily.
What I'm watching for is, can those Hornets sneak all the way up to that 6th seed? Because that would be a really interesting, as long as the top 4 shakes out as it is now. I think someone said it in the chat, but like the 3-6, 4-5, that could be some really fun basketball if you're looking at Knicks, Hornets, Cavs, Hawks.
Yeah.
Those are fun matchups.
I mean,
just as a basketball fan.
If the Hornets are in the play-in, like anything can happen in the play-in because it's one game, but I would hope that they would win the first game and become the 7th seed, because I wouldn't want the Pistons to play them. And I know we're going to talk about matchups in a little bit, so I won't go too deep there. But I think that's something that Detroit should definitely watch.
Hey, the Hornets are only 1 game in the win column, 2 games in the loss column behind the 76ers. So that's a game and a half. I mean, they're 8-2. And their last 10, though. I mean, they're hot. It'd be fun. I could see him getting all the way up 36. But let's just do that question. So we got JP423 in the DBB comments asked, which team would you guys want the Pistons to play in the first round? Which team would you not want them to have to play in the first round? So it sounds like you don't want them to play the Hornets, but who do you want them to play?
Yeah, and just a little bit more on the Hornets. Like, I think the Pistons could and should beat them. I do just think like the Hornets, when they're at their best, they're beating you because you just can't keep up with their offense. They're Con Knipple, LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and even Miles Bridges, for that matter, are like shooting the lights out. Their defense, especially in their win streak, like their defense was sneaky, not too bad. I think the Pistons obviously have the advantage against them defensively, but like Musa Diabate is really good, and like the defense just isn't bad in general. So I think especially, I mean, the Pistons have Duncan Robinson, Kevin Huerter, Tobias Harris, who can make shots, and obviously Cade's going to be back, and we'll see how that happens. But Detroit isn't always the team that is going to shoot the lights out in the way that Charlotte is, because not many teams are doing that. Like Con Knipple and LaMelo are at the top of the league, both as shooters. So I think someone brought it up in the chat. I think if you're looking at the cluster of teams in the play-in, which is Toronto, Charlotte, Orlando, Miami, you can even loop in Philadelphia because they're tied with Toronto right now. Of that group of 5 teams, I think I wouldn't want to play Charlotte and Philly, just because Philly's looked really good too. Like I said, especially since Paul George has come back, and they're great when Embiid plays, which is always a huge question, but I'd assume he's going to be ready to go as much as possible for the playoffs. So that leaves Toronto, Orlando, Miami. I think of those, I would prefer Toronto, like Richard said in the chat as well. I just think the Pistons are the better team, both like talent-wise, makeup-wise, however you want to put it. I mean, Toronto looked really good at times this season, haven't been as good as of recent. And I just think the Pistons are able to take care of them. Orlando and Miami, similar. Like, I think the Pistons should beat both of those teams. I think of those, it's a real tough one. Like, I would rather play Toronto than either of them. But just because both of them have been on the downside, I think I would lean a bit more toward playing Miami. I think Stu could probably do a good job against anyone, and especially on Bam as well. And Orlando, they haven't been great, and I'm not confident in Paolo, and Franz is out, but they still have Desmond Bain. Like, they still have a good team. And I think I would just give them a little bit more of the nod over Toronto and Miami. So I guess the teams I'd most want to play are Toronto and Miami, but I still don't love that Miami matchup just because they were decent as of recent, but the Pistons are still a better team than them.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's kind of fun with this whole conversation is, of all those 5 teams, they are 5 good teams. This is not the Eastern Conference of years past where this is a cakewalk in round 1. These are all solid basketball teams with a lot of talent that fit. I will say with the Heat, like, I'm still afraid of Eric Spoelstra in a 7-game series. That guy's he's a Hall of Fame coach, almost guaranteed. So I think he
manages timeouts correctly, though.
Well, that is true. He does have to do that, which is tough. He's struggled with that in Detroit in the past. So maybe you got that going for you. But yeah, I mean, the Hornets are the easy, don't want to play them matchup. I will say I do still have quite a few questions about that roster specifically. Not to like be too down on a guy, but LaMelo Ball, I have some serious reservations about in a playoff setting. even just in a competitive setting with just his style of play. And I don't want to. He's really fun to watch, and he's an amazing player. So I don't want it to come off that way. But some of his decision making,
him in the playoffs yet. We haven't seen any of these Charlotte guys in the playoffs yet.
We haven't, right? And I've seen so much, so many instances of just head scratching. Why did you take that shot? Why did you make that? Like in crunch time with him, where I'm skeptical of it. I genuinely hope he proves me wrong. He's really fun to watch out there on the floor. So I'm not trying to hate on LaMelo Ball. He's an entertaining player. He's really fun. He's very fun to watch. Probably one of my favorite guys to just turn on a game and watch. But yeah, like I think the physicality that Detroit brings, if you get into crunch time in a playoff setting, pressure is really high. I wonder, I would be a little bit worried if I were a Charlotte Hornets fan there. So again, they're the hottest team. So that's the easy answer to say I'd want to avoid them. And I do want to avoid them. They're really fun, exciting basketball team right now. But even, that said, it's not to say I'd be afraid of that, like, if that makes sense. I think that they pose the biggest threat. I don't necessarily know if it's legitimate as a threat. Whereas, I do think you look at maybe the Magic or the 76ers, if those teams are healthy, they got the talent to really hang with the Pistons there and counter the team's defense in a way that maybe the Hornets just don't have the capacity to at the moment. The Hornets, though, long term, that's probably going to be a fun team here in the next couple of years in the East. They might just be a year early, so it wouldn't be the end of the world. As for the best matchup, yeah, I think you're right. It's probably the Raptors. The Raptors want to even play a similar style as Detroit. The Pistons just do it better. And if you got a healthy Cade, yeah, I think that might be. No, I don't want to say that. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I'm going to hold that back in. I'm going to hold that in. I think that would be a good matchup for Detroit. So I think I'd be good with the Raptors.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm with you. You shouldn't overlook anyone in the playoffs. Like it's the same conversation that we were having about the Cavaliers. I think it applies to the Pistons no matter who they play in the 1-8 matchup. But yeah, I think Toronto just sticks out as those teams that the Pistons might have an easier time with, and then just a harder time. I still think Philly, if they end up in that conversation, might be a tough one. And Charlotte as well. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think Toronto, Orlando, Miami is like who you should look for. But even if you play Philly or Charlotte, I think the expectation obviously should be that the Pistons should win that series.
Can I ask you though? So like separate question, but related. Looking at the standings right now, you've got 5 teams that are likely to be in the play-in game. You got the 76ers, the Raptors, Hornets, Magic, and Heat. Who do you think's the most likely first round matchup for Detroit?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I'm going to think that Toronto is going to stay in the play-in just because Philly has been better than them as of recent. It could change if like whatever happens with Embiid. I think Charlotte could leap Toronto and get in the 7th seed and make things interesting with Philly. So that leaves a 7-8 game of, probably what it is right now, Toronto, Charlotte, or Toronto, Philly. And then the 9-10 game. So let's just say the Raptors are in the game for the final play-in spot. One of Philly or Charlotte has clinched the playoffs automatically, whether in the regular season or in the play-in. So the Raptors would have to be Orlando or Miami. I don't know. I think it's difficult. We've seen it before, so it's not impossible, but losing 2 games in a row and getting eliminated in the play-in is really tough. And I don't think the Magic or Heat right now, both of them are capable of beating Toronto or Charlotte or Philly, no matter who they play. But I don't think we're going to see a team in the East drop 2 games to get out of the play-in. So I'd say the most likely one is Toronto, honestly. How about you?
All right, here's my hot take, Blake. So I think 6 and 7 are some combination of the Hornets and Philadelphia. I don't know who's going to have to get through the play-in gauntlet, who's not, but that's 6 and 7 to me. I think it's pretty clear cut and dry. So you got the Raptors, Magic, and Heat in a tournament setting where you've just got to win 1 or 2 games, win or go home. Who are you trusting more? The 2 young coaches in Toronto and Orlando, or Eric Spoelstra?
I mean, yeah.
So there's my hot take. If I had to put money on it right now, which I never do, I'm not a gambling man, so don't ever take that as gambling advice. But if I had to put money down on something, if you and I were going to make a little bet here and just like, oh yeah, $5, who's it going to be? I'd say I bet it's the Heat. I genuinely, if the Heat are sitting at that 9-10 spot and they have to win 2 games just in a win or go home setting, I think that coach, that institutional structure they have in that locker room, the veteran guys that they have, the leadership they have, I think all of that lends to them having an edge. And I'd be shocked to not see the Heat in the first round.
That's fair. And I mean, there's all like, it's tough. The Heat are 3 games behind the Raptors. And I mean, Orlando is 2 games behind Toronto. So it's not a given that Toronto is going to be a top 8 seed. So they might need to win 2 games in a row to get out of the play-in. And if they find themselves in a 9-10 matchup with the Heat, like I would like the Heat in that matchup too, which means the Pistons would likely either be playing the Heat or the Magic in the first round. So it'll be an interest. Like I think it'll really be whichever team of that group of 3, Toronto, Orlando, and Miami, can start to click over the last few games. And there's some talk in the chat of like their schedules and everything, and that will have a lot to do with it. So yeah, whichever one can like find their way of a group of 3 teams. That Toronto hasn't been struggling as much as Orlando and Miami as of recent, but whichever of that group can maybe find a little streak going into the play-in and the postseason, I think can probably continue the momentum into the play-in.
All right, this is kind of a fun one. This is from I Am the Big Cheese. Which playoff matchups do you think will get the most coverage or attention if we had to rank them? So I guess just kind of, why don't we just look at through 3-6? Because, well, we'll leave out the play-in. So we'll look at 2-7. I know that includes the play-in, but you can be pretty confident in the 7 seed. 3-6, 4-5, and we'll leave out that 1-8 because, realistically, that's probably not going to get a lot of national attention anyway. The number 1 seed, 8 seed matchup almost never does, unless it's Golden State a few years ago when the play-in just started. So, where do you think the NBA eye is going to turn here in the Eastern Conference for round 1?
I mean, to be honest with you, if it is the Pistons and the Hornets in round 1, I would like put that up there just because the Hornets are a super exciting team. The Pistons, like 2 teams almost on a similar trajectory that have had bad blood during the regular season. I think that would be a really good one. But aside from that, I think if you're looking at things as they currently stand, I would probably put New York and Philly at the top, just big markets, the stars on both sides. Like basketball wise, I would say the best series, the one I would be most excited to watch, would be Cleveland, Atlanta. But I would guess that the NBA would give the more spotlight to like New York and Philly if it does shake out that way. So I would go Knicks, Sixers first, Cavs, Hawks second, and then Celtics, Raptors if it ends up that way. And just because I think the Celtics are clearly the much better team. Like what we've said about the Pistons playing Toronto, you could say the same thing about Boston or whoever it would be. But if Boston ends up playing Charlotte, like that series becomes a lot more fun. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was going to say this all kind of hinges to me on who plays the Knicks. Because if it is, if it's Knicks Philly, I get those are two relatively big markets. Obviously, the Knicks are a huge market, and then Philly's a pretty big one. But I mean, are NBA fans really looking for more Joel Embiid, Paul George on this? I'm not trying to knock on those guys, but it kind of like it feels like that's the old guard, right? Like those are the last year's NBA stars, and now more of the focus is on the younger crop. And yes, that would include Jalen Brunson, but it would also include someone like a LaMelo Ball, like a Cade Cunningham. So some of the kind of up and comers, a Scotty Barnes, right, with the Raptors. Like if the Raptors could somehow sneak up into that 6th seed, I think that Toronto, New York would get a ton of looks. But I think the biggest moneymaker, if it could happen, would be if the Knicks could get the Hornets. I think that's your perfect mix of, you got an East Coast rivalry, you got the big market in New York, you've got a guy in LaMelo Ball that does have a ton of national appeal right now, especially with younger people, like high schoolers and younger, like they love LaMelo Ball. There's that. They're exciting. They're 8-2 over the last 10, so they're kind of the darlings of the league right now. I think that would get the most eyes if it could happen. If it shakes out how it is right now, I kind of think that Celtics Raptors might get a lot of looks. I know the Celtics have been really dominant here recently, but the Raptors pose a few challenges for them. They're really long, they're really physical, they're aggressive, and the Celtics have lost to the Pistons, who play that same style. Plus, you have a Jason Tatum effect, right? He's coming back. And so what is he going to look like? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of curiosity there. Boston's a really big market. Toronto's your international market. Like I could see that getting a ton of looks too.
Yeah. And when the Raptors made their run with Kawhi, like their environment was pretty insane. But yeah, I'm with you on whoever plays the Knicks. Playoff basketball and MSG is awesome. Like we got to watch it. Hopefully some lucky listeners were able to experience it themselves. But yeah, I think that would be Michael Dompier brought it up. Like, who says Philadelphia can't knock off the Knicks? I think if you're talking from a coverage, media attention perspective, another Knicks meltdown would definitely be of interest, especially in a year after they made a coaching change. And if they do worse or if they do the same thing, that would definitely be a big talking point. But yeah, whoever Charlotte plays will be fun too. And yeah, not to like LaMelo will draw eyes, his first playoff experience. But you also have the potential rookie of the year on that team, who's the best shooter in the NBA right now, and Brandon Miller, and just an exciting team. So I think just across the board, we'll have some good series. But yeah, those New York ones just always get the love coverage wise.
I really think that this Eastern Conference playoffs is the first round, at least, is going to be more entertaining than the Western Conference. And I don't know how many times in recent past we've been able to say that, but like you're looking at a play-in crop. The Suns are great. They're really fun. The Blazers, they got my guy Denny, but that's kind of the, maybe Scoot, right? Like, is that the selling point there? The Clippers are fun, but they're sitting at about 500. The Warriors, 36 wins. Curry's coming back. I don't know. Like, I think that the Eastern Conference teams are a little bit closer, 1-10, and that just makes it more intriguing, more fun to watch. Let's do the last 5 minutes here on some postseason award conversation, because obviously that's where a lot of the focus is right now, just league wide, not even in Detroit. So Pistons fan 11, will the Pistons and Cade put an extraordinary circumstances appeal for all NBA, or is that only going to be Luka? He says that the Pistons should, but also, what's this logic of the 65 game requirement there? So we could just talk about that too briefly. What's your perspective on all of this? Obviously it's a real bummer for Cade, but beyond that, right? Like, what is this rule? What's going on with it? And do we think it should stick around?
Yeah, I think the rule started pretty simply just to have the league stars be available when they are truly available. I don't think it's worked how the league has intended it. And I think this year you're seeing just the drastic side of it where Cade isn't going to be eligible. Luka is not going to be eligible. And we'll see what could be done about it. I actually thought Chris Finch made a good point about it last night when he was talking about Ant. And he said his take was, if you're qualified for an award, you should be given the award, but maybe you don't get the money triggers that go with it. And I do think the money triggers that come with awards are good. And I would hate to see a guy like miss out on millions of dollars because he played in 62 games instead of 65 or whatever it might be, because that's earned money. But maybe that's a middle ground, because I think guys should be recognized for the seasons that they have. And you don't want, like, I feel like with awards, no matter what award it is, no matter how big it is, people always like to put asterisks on it. And I think this is just putting an asterisk on everything, especially if guys get all NBA that wouldn't in different circumstances. So, I mean, no matter who wins awards, I think it's something that you should celebrate, whether you get it partly because someone's hurt or someone's not, whatever it might be. But yeah, I think the league has some thinking to do over the summer, because this rule was put in place for a reason. And I just don't think it's doing the job that they wanted it to do right now. And it's just crazy that Cade would not be able to get any of the awards that he should, just because he had this really like freak injury that kept him out toward the end of the season.
It's obviously a bummer, right? Like he's had an all NBA first team type of year. He's that caliber of player, and it seems like he's going to be back for the playoffs, which is great. So, from a Pistons perspective, you're happy, you're good. But it is a bummer that he's not able to get the recognition, I think, league wide officially. Unofficially, he's clearly getting it, right? I mean, this is a talking point. The fact that he's on the list of guys that aren't going to be eligible, and people are upset about that. So clearly everyone's kind of recognized the quality of player that Cade is. So that's good. And that feels good. A little pat on the back there. I'll just, I think that the reason I expect the rule to change, I think the rule is going to change because ultimately the players union exists to protect the star players, and the star players are losing out on a lot of money here. There are guys that would get these triggers pulled for them in order to unlock extra contract guarantees and extra contract potential when they sign extensions, that are just not going to be able to get those anymore. It's going to advantage some lesser players as well that now suddenly are elevated up to that level and get pulled up to that contract now realm, which is both fortunate and unfortunate at the same time. I think, if it were me, my solution would just be to keep the rule and then remove all of the triggers on different contracts that you could get. Just everybody's basically allowed all the way up to that post-rookie supermax or the general supermax. Just remove the tiers. Everyone, you can sign the player for as much money as you kind of want, right? Like there's no cap on that. And then let everyone kind of bid it out from there. And of course, you're going to get into some weird issues. I'm sure the Kings are going to pay someone way too much, but hey, it is what it is. That's just the Kings. And I mean, what the spirit of the rule, I think, is fine. Like, even if you look back, there's not many MVPs that have won the award while playing less than 65 games. So I guess you're taking the power out of the voter in that way, that they can't just usurp that, and maybe that's a bummer. But the spirit of it's kind of fine. I mean, you just weren't seeing too much of that happening anyway. So as far as like first team All NBA goes, third team goes, it makes sense that you'd hold that to the same implied standard that you'd have for the MVP. I personally am not as upset about the rule itself. I do not like the contract ripple effects, though, like Chris Finch mentioned there that you brought up. I think that's where where the problem really comes in. Like the fact that if JD is able to make that all NBA third team, that elevates the contract he could theoretically sign. Like that's a little ridiculous. Just get rid of those triggers in general. Allow a certain maximum amount that could be like something ridiculous, like 80% of the cap. And if someone wants to abuse it, they can abuse it, but kind of leave the money out of the awards. Cause I do think the awards are usually not objective enough anyway to really make that sort of trigger validated in the first place. But that's just my take on it.
Yeah. Do some like statistical thresholds for contract triggers that matter with when you play a certain amount of games or something. I mean, you can get into trouble with that too, but yeah, it's because like all the
don't
players,
overplay it. That's my point. Like, you know, like have the maximum contract LeBron James can sign or Giannis can sign or whoever. Like Steph Curry is like 75% of the total cap. And if someone's dumb enough as a team to do that, let them go ahead. They can have Steph Curry and he'll be really happy to make all that money. But everyone else is going to be operating the same way that they are. Like Jalen Duren is not even right now, the rumored contract that he could get around 42 in average annual value. If he gets that all NBA third team award, it could get higher than that. He would be eligible for it. I don't think he'd get it. But he'd be eligible for it. So what's the trigger really doing there? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it's tough when like all these guys in this tier we're talking about have pretty much secured generational wealth. Like Jalen Duren already has a really nice rookie contract, but he's going to get even more. And when you're still even that, like I like to say, if I was an NBA player and I would be happy with all that money you're getting. But when you're talking about missing out on millions of dollars, no matter who you are, it comes into question, especially on such like an arbitrary rule, which makes it tough. So I think there is some work to do and getting it in the right spot. I agree with you. I think the spirit of the award was in the right place, but also the NBA has some other problems that they need to fix, like just March in general and how bad the basketball is that we're seeing. We need to do something. Not saying they shouldn't make any adjustments to this rule because it is a big problem, but I also think there are some bigger fish to fry out there too.
Agreed. So yeah, I mean, like as a fan, am I bummed that Cade's not going to get that official recognition? Yeah, I am. But that's me being bummed that he's missing these games. I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, like yeah. So I don't know. On a higher note to end, he's going to be back for the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
all is well. All is well there. That'll be fun to watch.
Just for a little Easter egg for whoever makes it to the end of the show, I was telling Wes about this, but when I was in high school, I had a collapsed lung as well. And I was joking with him because like it happened maybe a Saturday night and I went to the hospital and I was back in school by like Wednesday. So, I mean, I wasn't obviously an NBA player at that point. So the activity standards between me and Kate are totally different, but just wanted to throw that out there because like a collapsed lung sounds so scary, but I think it's like, I'm very confident that he's going to be ready to go, especially because we've seen him on the sidelines. So we'll see. It just takes some time. And I don't think, at least we haven't heard, he doesn't need any additional treatment because of what happened. So I'm confident he's going to be back. I don't know anything. I'm just saying that based off of personal experience, but looking forward to him being back.
Hey, he's right on that Vinny Goodwill timeline, right? That's what our guy Vinny said on ESPN. He said there was going to be a 2-week recovery process, 1 week of conditioning, and then 1 more week of a ramp up. So, hey, I mean, he's right on it. They're going to reevaluate him again in a week. That means he's doing conditioning now. Hopefully that means he can take that next step to like actually getting ready for contact basketball again over that following week, and he'll show up to the playoffs with some fresh legs, right? If we want to be optimistic.
Yeah, 100%. We're almost there. We are through March of the NBA, but it's still the basketball out there. Yeah, is a little, it's not great. I like watching the Pistons, but some of the other games out there, I'm really not sure about right now. But Wes, unless you have anything else, I'll close this out.
I do not. We're all good.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Reminder, you can call our voice line to ask a question and hear your voice on the show. The number for that is 313-355-2717. And special thanks to Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. And shout out to you guys for all the great questions and talking points tonight. We'll catch you next week, whether on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball with you all.